What's up everybody, it's Izzy, and in this video I want to discuss safety bar squats. So for those of you that don't know, a safety bar is basically a barbell designed just for squats that has a pad on it that goes around your neck and traps. And then there's handles that come down and you can grab the handles. You'll see what I'm talking about later in the video because I actually am performing the exercise. But basically this bar was designed originally, to my knowledge, to help lifters who had severe shoulder problems, right? Because of the handles that come down, as long as you can lift your arms with this bar, you can squat. There's essentially zero mobility requirements. So that's really one of the benefits. If you have any kind of tendonitis, bicep tendonitis, forearm problems, elbow problems, shoulder problems, with this bar, you can still squat without aggravating really any of those injuries. Now, mechanically speaking, the safety bar squat is somewhere between a high bar squat and a front squat. And there's two big reasons for that. Number one is that, like a high bar squat, it sits high on your back. However, because of the pad, as you can see, it sits a few inches higher than even a high bar squat would be. Okay? Now, like a front squat, the weight is going to be out in front of you, and it's because of the way that the bar is cambered, as you can see in the video. When you lift on the handles, the weight gets pushed out in front of you more. And what this does is this creates a longer moment arm as seen by the thoracic extensors from the thoracic extensors to the bar. So like a front squat, this movement is extremely challenging on your upper back. Overall, the point of using this movement, if you're not using it just for relief for your elbows and shoulders, is that it's a more quad dominant movement pattern, just like high bar squats and front squats. However, in my opinion, it is not as good of a pure quad dominant movement as either of those two movements, and I'll explain why. In a high bar squat, if your hips rise early or they shoot back too much, what happens is that the bar rolls up onto your neck and you can miss the lift. Now, I'm sure we've all seen some people save some really ugly round back high bar squats, so it can be done. But for the most part, the high bar squat punishes you when you try to use too much hips. Now, the front squat does an even better job of this than the high bar squat. You can get away, with a pretty posterior chain dominant high bar squat and not have too many problems. However, if your hips shoot back significantly on a front squat, the bar is going to roll off of your shoulders. Now, you can obviously tolerate some hip shift backwards with even a front squat, and I'm sure we've all seen people save kind of rounded front squats where the weight is being, crushing the person's wrists. So that can be done, but it's just to a lesser degree than on high bar squats. So for front squats, they're probably one of the better movements out there for just rewarding pure quad dominance, because the front squat will punish any positioning problem really, really well. Now, like I said, mechanically, the safety bar squat is somewhere between the high bar squat and the front squat in terms of quad dominance, just because of the bar position and the camber being out in front. However, the thing with this barbell is that it will punish you for your hip shooting back, but just in a different way. And like I said, with the high bar squat, the bar can roll up onto your neck. With the front squat, the bar can actually roll off of your shoulders, so you simply cannot tolerate that much hip shift backwards. Now, that's not true with the safety bar squat, because it's not going to roll onto your neck. It's not going to fall off of your shoulders, even if your hips shoot way the fuck back, like a low bar squat. All that's going to happen is that you're going to have this super long moment arm along the upper back. But the bar is not going to get into such a bad position that you actually lose the lift due to it moving around in an unsafe way. Okay? So, out of the three that I mentioned, even though it is a quad dominant squat movement pattern, if you're really trying to attack specifically the quads, out of the three movements, I would say it's the worst option. And that's because you can get away with more cheating. Now, you're going to make your upper back work super hard, but it can still do it. You can get out of position with this lift without just losing the bar. But again, it does reward you for staying upright. It does reward you for using the quads, because otherwise your back will get rounded and you will have to do this ugly round back lift to save it. But the point of the matter is that you can save it. So because of that, also, I would say that out of the three variations, if you're really looking to target upper back strength, it's going to be your best bet. And that's because, you can actually round your upper back really as much as you want with this lift, and you have an opportunity to save it because the bar is not going to roll onto your neck and it's not going to roll off of your shoulders. And just like a front squat, due to the camber, it's out in front of you a bit more. So there is a longer moment arm on the thoracic extensors, and it is a great movement for strengthening the upper back. However, like I said, out of the 3 movements, I would rank it the worst for purely improving the quads, even though it is still a quad dominant movement and definitely better purely quad movement than, say, a wide stance low bar squat. But again, it's probably not as good as front squats in my opinion. Now for your upper back, I think out of all 3, it's actually the best, okay? And that's because you can actually get into these positions where you can still save it. Overall, I still use high bar squats and front squats more often when I'm programming for clients. Number 1 is just the availability of the bar. Like I said, not a lot of gyms are going to have this bar. But number 2, I think that front squats do a better job of rewarding quad dominance than safety bar squats. However, this bar is very useful to have if you're at a powerlifting gym. It can be great to save the elbows. If you have problems with your elbows killing you, this bar is great. That's one of the bigger reasons that I use it when I do use it. And the other one is that when clients don't like front squats or they don't have the mobility to perform front squats, strictly performed safety bar squats where you do not allow a lot of upper back rounding can be a good substitute for the training effect that you get out of front squats. You'll be able to use a little bit more weight, but it's not quite as good, like I said, for purely quads because you can get away with more of your hips moving backwards than you can in a front squat. So overall, it's a useful movement, but I don't think you guys are really missing out on a lot by not being able to do it. And personally, I find myself programming front squats more often than I find myself programming safety bar squats for most of my clients. Anyways, hope you guys found the video informative and interesting. As always, my friends, have a nice day. Peace.